I'm Michael.
And I'm Sammy.
We're here with Puppers Corner. You can find us at pupperscornerpodcast.com. We're also on Stitcher, Google Play, and Apple iTunes, I guess. Just search Puppers Corner and you'll find us. There'll be a little picture of a beagle with a white blaze down the front of her face. So if you see that, you're in the right place. So today we're talking about not a very, I guess, fun topic, but it hit home this week. A good friend of ours recently lost their pet, and so we wanted to talk a little bit about the mourning process. So remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about the survey where people are happier when they have dogs?
Yeah.
Well, one of the questions I asked, do you consider your dog a member of your family? So 93% said yes. So if a member of your family dies, it's a mourning process, and we all gone through it. I mean, I had puppies growing up that pass away. It just happens, and so it impacts your life. But I also think it's a positive thing as a kid to go through that process because it's going to happen later in life as well, and that you got to be able to figure out how to mourn properly.
It kind of seasoned you for it.
Yeah, sure. So anyway, a friend of ours lost their pet. They started getting blood in the stool, so they did a bunch of tests, and they said there's one more thing we could possibly do. It's $4,000, and it may not work. So, they kind of weighed that and decided to, an older dog, so they, decided not to run that treatment route. And then that set up a guilt for her. So, what if we had done that? Would we still have our dog? And then one of the things she said is one of the stages that Karen Becker has an article where there's the stages of grief. And one of those is guilt. And all guilt is anger at yourself, essentially. So if you feel like you maybe didn't do everything you could, or you may really get into guilt. Have you experienced that before?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or if maybe the day before they peed on the carpet and you yelled at them. And
then you're thinking about if I would have yelled at them. Yeah, our last memory was so sad or something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, so it gets tricky with children because at different ages they understand different things. So I did a little bit of research. And there was an article, and we'll link it in the show notes so you can read it yourself. And one of the things is they talk about is don't expect them to grieve the same way you do. So they may cry longer than you, for more time than you do. So you don't want to say suck it up or have them feel bad about being sad.
Well, this is the biggest loss that they've ever known.
Yeah, sure. And then you also want to make sure you're the adult in the situation because you're dealing with grief too.
Yeah.
And so you don't want your emotions to cloud how you react with your kids about the pet dying. And it's their first experience with death. Common for anger at their friends that still have dogs if it's their only pet.
Oh, because their dog's alive.
Mm-hmm. And they're mad at their friends. And, which I didn't ever thought about that.
I mean, I didn't either. It makes sense.
And it's best, like I said earlier, best not to make assumptions about how they're feeling. They get information not just from you, but from a lot of different places. So they may feel grieve differently than you do. Avoid telling your child how they should feel, how they should mourn. Everybody mourns differently. Yeah. Don't try to hide your emotions, but don't go crazy screaming and yelling and wailing around.
Because you
want to modulate that so that they're not
so it's not a traumatic experience. Yeah.
And so there's various stages of grief. Let me get back to that. And then each of these stages is healthy to go through, but it becomes a problem if you stay in any one of them for too long. So the first one's denial. These are the same for if you lose a human. Or a dog or whatever.
Cat.
Yeah, I guess. I throw a party. No, I'm joking, people.
So sad.
Denial is the first stage. It's a protective mechanism this is before they die, if they're older. You're in denial that they're getting older, or you kind of protect yourself from that eventual hurt. Mm-hmm. So you use the denial, and so that's the first stage. That's before they pass away. Bargaining is another one. God, if you save my dog, I promise to never do anything bad ever again. So you bargain with God. You may bargain with, just trying to make it's a protective mechanism. You're bargaining. Then comes the anger. That includes guilt. So guilt's anger at yourself or regret after the loss of a pet. And we talked a little bit about that, where you say, man, if I'd have just done this, or if I'd have just done that, or you're just kind of anger. Or if, depending on the situation, like say your dog got ran over by somebody, you might be angry at them, eh?
Yeah, that's true. Or if you ran over your own dog.
Oh, man, talk about the guilt
that
there.
happens, but guilt.
Oh, man, I would just be a wreck.
I would, talk about not a traumatic experience for your kids. I mean, I'd be bawling, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
So that anger it's normal and healthy to do that to a point. If it lingers, I mean, you got to know your own mental health. You know how long you can be upset about something without it being abnormal. Mm-hmm. And if it definitely becomes a chronic anger, I mean, like long term, like I don't know. For me, probably more than a couple of weeks. Yeah. If it gets longer than that, seek professional help, whatever that looks like for you. Yeah. And work through all that, because that's not good for your health or your family's. Or depression's the next phase. That's the phase that all those other protective mechanisms is trying to protect you from the pain and the sadness
and all that.
You have to reach this in order to completely deal with the grieving process. And this is the one many people get stuck in, like look for longer, and definitely get help if you feel you're stuck in that phase. Then it's acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you're happy again, but it means you've come to terms with the new situation. Everybody kind of gets in the groove of the new normal, because things will change slightly. And then you begin to think of all the good memories at this point. Mm-hmm. And that's it's not a fun place to be, but
it's a happy place to be.
And what they recommend is memorialize the pet. It helps children especially. And then they recommend either doing like a scrapbooking, get all the pictures out and make a book. Or, nowadays you can upload them to a digital site and have a book made, or like a slideshow on your TV or whatever, and sit down and remember all the good times.
And tell stories and stuff. Yeah.
Just like you would if a human died. I mean, they're basically like family members. So, and again, the length of each phase will vary with the person. Like, for example, the sad, I do show emotion, but not very long. When my grandpa passed away, everybody was like, I was sad for like 4 days and cried. And then I was kind of through that part, and then started remembering what we did together. And everybody's like, man, you should be more sad. I'm like, again, they're trying to put that, everybody's different. And they're trying to, you're trying to tell a child how they feel. I was like 7, so anyway.
And it's also situational. Like, what if your relationship with your grandpa wasn't that good?
Right.
Or what if he was your idol? Mm-hmm. Or what if your dog, you never really played with him. Yeah. He was like your mom's dog. Or he was your baby.
And then, exactly. Like, for example, when she told me that the other day, I got to thinking about Molly's our oldest dog. Really, her and Jake, our oldest son, were really close and bonded. I love her to death, but for me, it's Jackson. He's our 2-year-old lab. We do a lot of stuff together.
He's your baby.
We spend a lot of time together. So, man, I got to thinking, oh boy, when he passes away, that's going to be rough for me personally. Yeah. So anyway, any thoughts on that?
I'd be completely devastated if something happened to Daisy.
Oh yeah. It's not fun to think about.
No, it's not, because it's like, what would I do? I don't know. And I know some people, whenever they have a loss, they want to replace that feeling. And you just have to remember, you cannot ever replace a dog. Right. They're just like people. They're all so different.
Yeah, they're different.
You're going to be disappointed.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing she said, I'm never getting another dog again. And we had another friend that probably 10 years ago lost a... She was single, and it was just her and her dog. Oh, when she lost him, she said, I'm never getting another dog. They recently got the same breed, the golden retriever. And so it was a good 10 years though between. So
yeah.
Never say never.
Never say never. Go.
And you know, over time, time heals your heart a little bit, but you'll still remember them, but it won't be that intense sadness.
It'll be more of a happy, like, remember this one time, and then a little somber sadness. Like,
right.
oh.
Yeah. And then also another thing to think about with that is the other dogs in the house will grieve as well. Yeah. They used to think they didn't, but there was a study done recently, and they started observing behaviors after one dog in the family died, and there was other dogs. These are some of the behavior changes they noticed. They demanding more attention than normal, seeking less affection, being a clinger, more needy, looking for the deceased pet's favorite spot, sleeping more, eating less, eating more slowly, increased barking, increased volume of barking. So all those things were noticed after the death of one of the dogs in the family.
Well, have you seen the movie Where the Red Fern Grows?
I have, and the dog baying at the... Yeah, I know.
Sad.
It's one of my favorite movies, but one that really...
Sad.
Intense, yeah. Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Was it last week we talked about Where the Red Fern Grows a little bit?
That weird
website where
they tell you the dog dies.
That's silly. I'm better off for having watched Where the Red Fern Grows.
Me too.
Okay, so anything new with Daisy?
Yeah, she's been very... It's not aggressive, but she's got this thing with swings.
She's obsessed.
And she doesn't like it when my toddler's on there. She has nipped him 3 times now, but it's not in an aggressive way. Like, you know when your dog's being mean.
Yeah, sure.
It's like she wants him off of there.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring that out. I don't know.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about that off recording, that conditional training, get her around the
kind of force her to be around
it. Yeah.
And we are getting a swing this
maybe
weekend.
Around the swing and
so it'll get better, but I'll keep you updated on that.
Goodness.
Okay.
Weird. Well, Molly had a ball this week. She doesn't do well on a leash. We've documented that over this podcast, that she likes to pull like a mad beast. But when I get an opportunity to get her, there's a creek not too far from our house, and when we go over there, and when we're by the street, I have this really long lead. It's probably 30 foot long.
That's cool.
So I have her on that, and then once we get a little further away from the road, I let her off leash. She goes down in that creek and just has a ball. Like for 2 hours, I'm just standing there while she's playing in the water.
That's awesome.
But the only downside is when you get back, you have to really check for ticks. And really,
do you give her a bath?
Yes. So it's not like something you can do every day. I mean, I guess technically you could. That'd take a lot of time.
That would take a lot of time.
But anyway, so I don't do that every day. But maybe every 2 weeks we go down there, and you can tell a dog smiling. She's just grinning from ear to ear, running like she was a pup. She's 7 now, so. But she got to this waterfall. It's like only like a 1.5 foot drop in water, but it had a bunch of sticks were collecting there.
Yeah.
Because like they come down the stream and collect right there. She didn't like that. She wanted all those sticks out of that stream, so she started grabbing them and pulling them out of the stream.
That's so cute.
I happened to get the tail end of the video, so may not see as much of it, but I'll post that on the show notes. It's kind of cute. And Instagram, whatever. So that's what's going on with our dogs. The other ones are busy little beagles.
Aww.
They're fun. They don't need a big open space to have a party. Our backyard, they're sitting there making circles and chasing each other, wrestling. They just it's not. I've been told before, don't get 2 dogs out of the same litter because of domination issues, I guess. But maybe with our other dogs in the house, they know there's a hierarchy there. Yeah. But they entertain each other in the backyard. The other 2, they want to be where we're at all the time, right? The labs do. If we're inside, they're inside. If we're outside, they're outside. But the beagles, for a while, will entertain each other and wrestle each other. And
that's nice.
It's fun. So, and wear each other out. Yay!
Yay!
So that's about all that's going on with our pups. And that's all I had. Anything else about the grieving process? Or
no.
Like I said, if you get stuck in any one of those phases, seek help. Yeah, because you don't want to. you want to memorialize them, but not like. Have you ever? My grandmother had these Chihuahuas, and when they died, she kept having Chihuahuas like her whole life.
Yeah.
And she had this board, their collars, and she would each one have their name written underneath it and their picture, which I guess is okay. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I have pictures of Daisy around the house, but would I hang her collar up? I might put her collar in like our hope box or something.
Right.
But I feel like that'd be really depressing to have
sit there
her
and watch it all
collar
the time,
on my wall. I mean, it'd be really hard to
be a
move
reminder,
on.
Yeah. But she had at the end like 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, that gets creepy if you have 7 or 8 of them. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. That was judgmental.
Now, if you go and stuff them or something, I don't know. That would.
Well, you know. No, just
okay, so that's all I had.
Me too.
All right, we'll see you next time. We're signing off. Bye.
Bye.